When Emily Sander, a brilliant college student, goes missing, her family and friends begin a desperate search. In the process, they uncover a life she had kept hidden, but one that ultimately has nothing to do with her murder.
I will.
Emily Sander was born in Bandera County, Texas, USA. She lived there for several years until her parents divorced and moved to the city of El Dorado, also located in Texas. In this city, Emily became a typical teenager. She was an excellent student, had many friends, and a family that always supported her needs, both material and emotional. Emily had an incredible ability to adapt, which allowed her to excel at everything she did. At 17, it seemed like she was living every girl's dream. She had lots of friends, a loving family, excellent grades, a boyfriend with whom she had a healthy relationship, and even a pet. Like any other girl her age, Emily began the journey of self-discovery and forming her own identity. This journey led her to make a decision her family strongly disapproved of. She got her first tattoo on the right side of her abdomen. It was a large red ball surrounded by 5 yellow stars. A little while later, Emily got her first piercing on her lower lip. The reaction from her very conservative family was swift. They made several critical remarks about Emily's choices, blaming them on the negative influence of her friends. They told her that she was doing nothing but damaging and destroying her own body. Emily was also quite an active internet user, and at that time, the internet was just starting to gain popularity. It was 2006, and there was a boom in the online adult entertainment industry. Emily began to see huge opportunities for profit in this world and, without hesitation, took the first step. She quickly got in touch with a friend who was a photographer, and he helped her by taking some very revealing photos of Emily in lingerie and other provocative outfits. The girl decided she wanted to sell these photos online and use the pseudonym Soye Sane because she didn't want her family, friends, or boyfriend to know what she was doing. At first, Emily created her own website to sell the photos, but within a few weeks, she had already connected with other websites doing the same thing to offer her photos to them as well. Emily's goal was for these images to reach as many people as possible. The sites accepted her offer, and soon these photos were being viewed by people not only in the US, but also in other countries. Emily was earning a lot of money and decided to take things a step further. She began taking more provocative photos, posing in lingerie, revealing outfits, and eventually fully nude. Her online persona, Soye Sane, became increasingly popular in the world of adult content on the internet. She was easily recognizable, especially by her tattoo. With each passing day, Emily grew more popular and wealthier. Emily soon realized that her close circle might start noticing she had more money than she gave to her family for expenses. So she decided to take a risk and tell her boyfriend the truth about what she was doing. She thought he was an open-minded person after all. He had been the one to encourage her to get a tattoo and a piercing. When Emily revealed all the details about Soye Sane to him, he didn't react as she had hoped. His response was quite the opposite. He completely ended their relationship. He told her he was upset and warned her that she needed to be careful because what she was doing was illegal. Emily was 17, but online she had presented herself as an 18-year-old. He said he didn't agree with her choices, warned her that she could end up in jail, and added that this was a dangerous business, filled with unwell people who could easily become obsessed with her. However, Emily thought he was just angry because she was showing her body to others. And just like that, their relationship ended. After the breakup, Emily's content became increasingly more erotic, and her profits soared. She no longer had the limitations set by her previous relationship, and her earnings kept climbing higher and higher. At that point, Emily decided to involve a few of her friends, creating content together, sometimes in pairs, sometimes in groups of 3. She was solidifying her place in the industry. Her income skyrocketed. It remains unclear whether Emily received any offers to appear in adult films or engage in other related activities. What is certain is that Soyesane's page was receiving hundreds of visits per day and hundreds of purchases of her explicit material. This was bringing in enough money for Emily to move out and live on her own in a small apartment, despite her family's objections. This newfound financial freedom began to push Emily further away from both her friends and her family. Yet her academic performance remained unaffected. Even as a college student, she continued to excel in her studies. She was still a top student. On November 23, 2007, Emily, who by then was of legal age, arranged to meet some friends at a bar in the town of El Dorado. At the same place, at the same time, there was a man named Israel Mireles, a 24-year-old of Mexican descent. Israel was a grown man who had a strong attraction to much younger girls. At that time, he was in a relationship with 15-year-old Victoria Martins, who had just told him that she was pregnant with his child. Israel didn't know what to do. His financial situation wasn't great, and although he had U.S. citizenship, he knew it could be easily taken away. He was terrified that Victoria's family would go crazy once they found out she was pregnant. Trying to escape his overwhelming thoughts, Israel decided to drink heavily in an attempt to dull his emotions. He started talking to the girls at the bar, targeting the younger-looking ones, but they all rejected him. That was until he met Emily. The two of them struck up a conversation immediately. They drank together, and everything seemed to be going well. When Emily's friends arrived, the group had even more fun. They all got along well and spent several hours together. At some point, Emily told her friends that she was going to leave with Israel for a bit, but would be back in about an hour. Her friends waited for her at the bar until the early morning, but neither Emily nor Israel returned. When Emily's family heard the story from her friends, they began searching for her. Unable to reach her, they went to the police and filed a missing person report. This was when all the hidden details of Emily's life began to surface. The girl's car was found in front of the bar, which, according to her family and the police, indicated that she had not returned from her meeting with Israel and might be with him. The family organized a prayer vigil for Emily's safety, while the police began searching for her. Her ex-boyfriend, upon learning of her disappearance, decided to contact the police and reveal her secret life. The case quickly made national headlines, thanks to her revealing photos. Emily's family was shocked by this news. Some even outright denied that the information was true, despite the evidence, including many photos, constantly surfacing in the media. When the police started questioning Emily's friends, who were with her and Israel at the bar, they said her social media page had been blocked in El Dorado and was only accessible to those there via a proxy server. In their opinion, Emily did this to prevent her family and friends from seeing these photos, and to keep her neighbors from finding out what she was up to. As soon as this began to spread in newspapers and the news, her page gained significantly more views than before, and many people began auctioning off her photos. At a certain point, Emily's content became very valuable, and many people online were eager to obtain a photo of the naked girl who was, at that time, considered missing. While all this was happening, the owner of a motel called El Dorado was conducting a routine inspection. He noticed that the window and the TV screen in room 21 were broken, and there was a bit of glass on the sidewalk below the window. He began knocking, but there was no answer, so he took out his master key and opened the door. When he entered the room, he saw a large amount of blood on the carpet and the mattress. The man called the police, who arrived at the motel to examine the scene. The officers found several different stains on the carpet, the sheets, and the mattress. Additionally, bloodstains were discovered on the ceiling and the wall next to the bed. In the room, there was also a toilet plunger with what appeared to be dried blood on the handle. Besides this, a black bra and a white t-shirt with the words, "Everything's bigger in Texas," were found. The police seized 4 beer bottles, intending to use them for DNA analysis. They also noticed that the bedspread was missing. The motel owner mentioned that the room had been rented a few days earlier by a couple, Israel Mireles and Victoria Martins. After this, the officers quickly began investigating the lives of these two individuals. At that time, the agents didn't yet know that these two cases were connected. They found the address of Victoria's family, who lived in Kansas, and one of the agents headed there to conduct an interview. He arrived around 10:30 p.m. and spoke with Victoria's grandmother and mother. They explained that after the 24th, the girl had moved in with her boyfriend. At that time, neither Victoria's grandmother nor her mother knew about her pregnancy, and they said they allowed her to be in a relationship with Israel despite the age difference because she was in love with him. And they feared that if they didn't allow it, she would stop talking to them forever. The police decided to search the house, and in one of the trash bins, they found many important pieces of evidence. They discovered a white blouse with a blood stain, a set of keys, a knife, and a beer bottle. There was also a plastic bag containing pants, underwear, and socks. The pants were wet, and there was a blood stain in the crotch and thigh area. The police collected all these items from the trash bin and sent them for analysis. At the same time, something very strange happened. An anonymous user on an internet forum posted the coordinates of a place where Emily's body was supposedly located. This was done through a riddle. The anonymous user promised to give the exact coordinates to anyone who could solve it. The winning user passed this information to the authorities. Thanks to the coordinates, the police were able to find Emily's body. Afterward, all necessary examinations were conducted, and they determined the cause of death and some of the events leading up to it. The body was found in a very poor condition, but it was established that Emily had been stabbed and severely beaten. There were also signs of brutal violence, and DNA traces were found on the victim's genitals. Although these coordinates were very helpful to the police, they were unable to determine the criminal's location. By that time, Israel Mireles was already wanted as a suspect in Emily's murder. After some time, it became known that he was in Mexico, and the U.S. government sought assistance from the Mexican authorities, requesting his extradition. It was also discovered that the person who had posted the coordinates on the forum was Israel himself. He used his account on 4chan to issue the challenge to users, playing a cruel game with the police and the girl's family. It seemed that he felt no remorse for what he had done. Meanwhile, Victoria's family was deeply worried. The girl had been out of touch for several days, and the last message they received from her was one in which Victoria told her mother that she had a lot to share. A few days earlier, they had also spoken with her on the phone. Victoria told them that they were indeed in Mexico, and that Israel had become very violent. He had gotten into a fight with a man at a bar, claiming the man had tried to rob him, and Victoria was very scared. After a lengthy investigation, on December 19, 2007, Israel was arrested in the city of Melchor Musquis, Mexico. He was charged with the murder of 18-year-old Emily Sander and rape. Mexican authorities stated that they had known Israel's whereabouts since December 3rd, but they did not arrest him until Kansas prosecutors assured them that they would not seek the death penalty. With him was 16-year-old Victoria, who was 8 months pregnant. She did not want to return home to Kansas, fearing she would end up in jail. But the police promised her that no charges would be brought against her, and she agreed to return to her family. Due to Victoria's age, Israel was charged with lewd conduct with a minor. Eventually, a deal was reached with the Mexican government. U.S. prosecutors publicly agreed not to seek the death penalty for him. Israel had to wait 2 years in Mexico for extradition, and in June 2009, he was brought to the United States. The trial began in February 2010. The prosecution presented their timeline of events. Much of this timeline was constructed thanks to testimonies from Israel's friends who were with him on the night of the murder, as well as statements from several underage girls who were also with them at the time. According to them, Emily and Israel left the bar to join the man's friends. He and the underage girls with them tried to enter various bars, but were denied entry because of their age. so they decided to go to a supermarket to buy beer and snacks. Afterward, they thought it would be best to go to the motel room that the suspect had rented. There they started drinking, eating, and smoking. The night went on. Israel proposed to Emily that they become intimate. She reportedly felt uncomfortable. There were too many people around, and it was clear that she didn't want to be intimate in their presence. In the end, she refused Israel, and his friends began to laugh at him. Emily decided to leave, but before she could even get out the door, Israel grabbed her arm and started beating her. At this point, his friends and the girls were still in the room. He hit Emily several times in the face, causing blood to splatter on the wall. Israel then threw her onto the bed and brutally raped her while continuing to beat her. He used various objects from the room to inflict injuries, and when Emily lost consciousness from the beatings and violence, he took a knife and started stabbing her, ending her life. The scene, as we know, ended with the mattress and carpet soaked in blood. Israel's friends and the girls, in a panic, fled the scene, but only went to the police after Israel had already been apprehended. It is known that after this, Israel took some belongings from the room and went to Victoria's house. In his car were a gun, Emily's clothes, her body, and some other items. On the way, he dumped Emily's body in a ditch and finally arrived in Kansas at Victoria's house with blood-stained clothes. He threw away part of the clothes and the gun in a trash bin where the authorities later found them. A few days later, after visiting Victoria and talking to her, he took her to the border with Mexico. After that, they crossed into the state of Coahuila. Another person who testified at the trial was Victoria, who spoke about the day she fled to Mexico with Israel. By that time, she was already of legal age. She recounted that her boyfriend called her and mentioned something about a wounded man which she didn't fully understand. Then, Israel arrived home, and she saw him in a blood-stained shirt with bruised knuckles. He washed up and told her what had supposedly happened. According to him, he met a couple at the bar and invited them to his motel room for drinks. Once they were in the room, the man began pressuring his girlfriend for intimacy, but she refused. This led to an argument between them, and while they were arguing, the woman left the room. Eventually, the man pulled out a knife, and Israel, defending himself, used a toilet plunger. He struck the man, injuring him severely and causing him to lose a lot of blood. Israel told Victoria that at this point he panicked, gathered his things, and left. He claimed that when he exited the room, the man was still alive. Clearly, the story Israel told Victoria was entirely false. The man's lawyer claimed that his client was innocent. He stated that after Israel and Emily were intimate, a man entered the motel room and began beating Israel. Allegedly, this was an admirer of Emily who had been following her. Israel told his defense that he left the room, and when he returned, he found Emily covered in blood. He admitted to disposing of the body out of panic, but the evidence was not in his favor. Israel's DNA matched the sample taken from Emily's genitals. Several other DNA tests were conducted on items recovered from the motel room. Israel's DNA was found on 2 beer bottles, and Emily's DNA was discovered on the window screen, the blood on the chair handle, the blood on the carpet, the toilet plunger handle, a beer bottle, the bed, and the mattress. His fingerprints were also found on one of the bottles. As for the items found in the trash container, the DNA of both Emily and Israel was discovered on a pair of men's underwear, presumably belonging to the accused. Emily's DNA was also found on the knife. The pants retrieved from the trash had 3 bloodstains, all of which matched the victim's DNA. It was also revealed that Israel had rented a car that was found a few days after the murder. Prosecutors stated that blood samples taken from this vehicle matched Emily's DNA and Israel's DNA as well. In the end, Israel Mireles was found guilty and, on March 31, 2010, was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. He is currently held at the Hutchinson Correctional Facility in Kansas.
Thanks for watching, friends. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm always interested in your opinions. Subscribe to my channel, there's much more to come. See you next time.